The Stults Road community, an isolated area in northeast Dallas, is comprised of a multi-ethnic group of residents who not only enjoy their tranquil community, but take pride in their efforts to deprive the traditional mores of homogeneous neighborhoods. This mood has not always prevailed. The Stults community has indeed felt the panic of fleeing residents. Only 2 years ago, the first black family descended on this formerly all-white community.
Well, they tolerated me pretty good. And then another black moved in.
I would like for them to stay simply because of my children. And I think children, my children's age, need to know more about the whites, and the whites need to know more about my children, so that the future generations will know more about each other. This is my reason why I'd like for them to stay. But as far as my wanting them to stay, for me personally, no. But I do like to expose my children to whatever there is.
Mrs. Alexander lives in the newest section of this community, which was built to maintain the status quo. After she and her husband moved in, it is alleged that the builder, who was white, decided to sell his listings to a black broker. This newer development houses all blacks. It is contiguous with the older, now integrated section. Longtime residents who weathered the panic gave insight to the current mood of this community.
Our primary fears is it will turn into an all-black neighborhood. Now, I think that they are concerned about it being overloaded, one way or the other.
But then they weren't concerned when it was overloaded the other way.
No,
That's
interesting.
That's true.
That's true.
Mrs. Hargis, do you think that the neighborhood is fairly stable now? What do the residents say now when you're talking about?
I think that people are optimistic that it can be. I don't think too many people are sure. I think they feel like that perhaps one side of the neighborhood has not been able to have the balance that they feel it should have. And you hear the comment, I just don't want to be in the minority, you know.
But what we're finding at this particular point are the realtors directing white people who inquire in this area to an area that's on the other side of our boundaries and showing these houses to black people only. We formed a commission or committee that looked into real estate practices. They talked to realtors. They talked to the government about what could be done to stop these practices. We sent out newsletters advising the citizens what to look for. Special letters, night letters, things like this, that would show that a particular realtor was attempting to blockbust or create a situation that would be bad for the neighborhood. And it was at this particular point that we stopped having the problems that we were having at the time. But now this has come back on a more subtle level now. It's much more subtle.
I've always wanted to be in a mixed community because I had seen enough of what do you call it, homogenized suburban community, what it's done to children. I'm from West Texas, small rural community where it's very conservative, and that's the kind of thing you get. And I think that it's not going to change by saying you're going to change. You have to feel it, and then you have to make it easy for your children. And that's why I'm so glad that we're here. My children can be friends with black people.
What are the reasons that they give for becoming disturbed when a neighborhood is changing over?
I think it's all, well, I think the majority of people realize that it's not the in thing to feel prejudice, but they feel it very strongly. And so they'll use the old regulars like, I don't want our house to go down to nothing. We need to get out where we can have some money. And our schools will become worse and worse, and the yards will look bad, and
it'll get trashy, and it goes on and on and on.
Right.
But I think that the only way understanding between white people and black people is going to come about is the neighborhood, is the housing, is the living together.
Well, we selected this community because we felt that it was the most integrated community we could find in Dallas. We found that through looking for 6 straight days, which isn't much time, but it was 6 complete days of looking, that we couldn't find any community that gave our children an opportunity to associate with whites and blacks alike, that it would either be one or the other, and we liked this community because it was both.
What is your immediate reaction to white flight?
Well, I think it couldn't happen if the blacks didn't allow it.
What do you mean?
I mean that if the blacks would concentrate on buying new homes, which I feel are at the same price that the older homes are selling for, I feel that if they would go in with the idea that they're going to buy a new home, they can establish their own neighborhoods and they can integrate areas more or less than buying a home that was used by a white person, and this white person is running away from a situation that he does not want to occur. They wouldn't be able to run if the blacks wouldn't allow them to. If the blacks wouldn't buy their homes, they would have nowhere to go.
How would you describe an ideal community?
I would say an ideal community is a community that has both or all races represented. A community that your children can grow up in. They can learn cultural backgrounds of every race, so that when they're in later life, they go to the schools, college, or they go out and they work in the world, that they have this balance that they've learned, that they've lived with all their lives, that they're just not from a world that's all black or from a world that's all white.